True Terror, Horror Stories and Legends from India. Chapter 1: The Haunting of Bhangarh Fort. Nestled in the Aravalli hills of Rajasthan lies Bhangarh Fort, a site of eerie beauty and foreboding silence. With its crumbling walls and ancient ruins, the fort stands as a testament to a bygone era. Yet, beyond its historical allure, Bhangarh Fort is infamous for something far more sinister. It is widely regarded as one of the most haunted places in India. Tales of curses, dark spells, and inexplicable disappearances have plagued this fort for centuries, creating an aura of dread that continues to captivate and terrify those who dare to visit. The Cursed City and the Wizard's Dark Spell. The legend of Bhangarh Fort is steeped in the tale of a powerful wizard, Singha, whose dark desires ultimately led to the downfall of the entire city. According to local folklore, the fort's ruler, Raja Madho Singh, constructed the fort in the 16th century under the guidance of a sage named Bilu Nath, who warned that the fort's shadow should never fall upon his meditation spot. Should this warning be ignored, the fort would be doomed. Raja Madho Singh respected this condition, but it was not enough to save the city from its tragic fate. The story takes a darker turn with the introduction of Princess Ratnavati, known for her beauty and grace. Her charm attracted many suitors, including the wizard Singha. He became obsessed with the princess, and decided to use his dark arts to win her over. Singha concocted a love potion, disguising it as oil, and sent it to the princess. However, Princess Ratnavati saw through the ruse. In a swift act of defiance, she threw the potion onto a large boulder, which then rolled down the hill and crushed the wizard to death. With his dying breath, Singha cursed the city of Bhangarh, condemning it to eternal ruin. The curse seemed to take hold almost immediately. Soon after, a fierce battle ensued between Bhangarh and a neighboring kingdom, leading to the city's downfall. The inhabitants of Bhangarh were slaughtered, and the once thriving city became a ghost town overnight. It is said that the spirits of those who perished in the fort still linger, unable to find peace, their souls trapped by the wizard's curse. Mysterious deaths and disappearances. Bhangarh Fort's dark history extends beyond the legend of Singha and Princess Ratnavati. Over the years, numerous reports of mysterious deaths and disappearances have surfaced, adding to the fort's sinister reputation. Locals recount tales of people who ventured into the fort after sunset, never to return. Their fates remain unknown, their stories becoming part of the fort's chilling lore. One of the most infamous incidents occurred in the early 20th century, when a group of visitors decided to explore the fort at night, despite warnings from the villagers. As the story goes, they entered the fort just as dusk settled. Hours passed, but the group never emerged. A search party was dispatched the following morning, but no trace of the visitors was ever found. The only evidence left behind was their abandoned vehicle, parked just outside the fort's gates. Similar accounts have been passed down through generations, with each disappearance adding another layer of fear and mystery to the fort. Even today, locals believe that the spirits of those who died within the fort's walls are responsible for these vanishings. They claim that anyone who disturbs the peace of Bhangarh after dark risks being taken by the restless souls that haunt the ruins. Accounts of paranormal experiences. Bhangarh Fort's reputation as a hotbed of paranormal activity is not just based on legend. Numerous visitors and paranormal investigators have reported experiencing inexplicable phenomena during their time at the fort. From disembodied voices to shadowy figures, the fort seems to be a magnet for the supernatural. One of the most common experiences reported by visitors is the feeling of being watched. Many have described a palpable sense of unease as they wander through the ruins, as if unseen eyes are following their every move. Some have even reported hearing faint whispers, as if the wind itself is carrying the voices of the dead. These whispers often seem to come from nowhere, growing louder and more urgent as the night deepens. In addition to auditory experiences, there have been numerous sightings of apparitions within the fort. Shadows that move against the flow of light, ghostly figures that disappear upon approach, and strange lights that flicker in the distance are all part of the fort's ghostly activity. One particularly chilling encounter involved a group of paranormal investigators who captured what appeared to be a translucent figure on camera. The figure, which resembled a woman in traditional Rajasthani attire, was seen standing near one of the fort's many temples before vanishing into thin air. Locals also share tales of an eerie presence that lurks near the fort's entrance. It is said that those who venture too close to this presence are overcome with a sudden, overwhelming sense of dread, often accompanied by physical symptoms such as dizziness or nausea. Some believe this entity to be the spirit of Singha himself, still guarding the entrance to the cursed city, while others think it could be one of the many souls trapped by the curse. The fort's desolate atmosphere and government restrictions. Adding to the fort's eerie reputation is its desolate atmosphere. Bhangarh is surrounded by a barren landscape, with the Aravalli Hills looming ominously in the background. The fort itself is a labyrinth of empty rooms, crumbling walls, and overgrown courtyards. The silence is deafening, broken only by the occasional call of a distant bird or the rustle of the wind through the trees. The air feels thick with history and sorrow, as if the very stones are imbued with the pain of the past. Due to its haunted reputation and the numerous reports of paranormal activity, the Archaeological Survey of India, ASI, has imposed strict restrictions on visiting Bhangarh Fort after sunset. A sign at the entrance warns visitors not to enter the fort between sunset and sunrise, citing safety concerns. While the official explanation is that the fort is home to wild animals, locals and tourists alike believe that the true reason is far more sinister. Despite the warnings, Bhangarh Fort continues to attract thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts from around the world. Some come in search of answers, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural, while others are simply drawn by the allure of the unknown. But no matter the reason, one thing is certain: Bhangarh Fort remains a place where the past is very much alive, and where the line between the living and the dead is frighteningly thin. Bhangarh Fort stands as a haunting reminder of the darker side of history, where curses and legends intertwine with reality. The fort's chilling atmosphere, combined with the countless stories of paranormal encounters, has cemented its place as one of the most terrifying locations in India. Chapter 2: The blood-curdling tale of Shaniwar. Standing majestically in the heart of Pune, Maharashtra, Shaniwar is a grand palace that once symbolized the power and glory of the Peshwas, the prime ministers of the Maratha Empire. Built in 1732, this architectural marvel was intended to be the seat of power for the Maratha rulers, a place of grandeur and authority. However, the history of Shaniwar is far from a simple tale of royal opulence. Instead, it is a story marred by betrayal, political intrigue, and one of the most tragic and horrifying events in Indian history, the brutal murder of a young prince, which has left an indelible mark on the palace, transforming it into a site of ghostly lore and eerie occurrences. The brutal murder of a young prince and its impact on the palace. The haunting tale of Shaniwar is inextricably linked to the gruesome murder of a young prince, Narayan Rao Peshwa, whose death remains one of the most chilling episodes in the history of the Maratha Empire. Narayan Rao, who ascended to the position of Peshwa at the tender age of 17, became a target in a deadly web of political intrigue and familial betrayal. The conflict began with a power struggle within the Peshwa family. After the death of his elder brother Madhavrao I, Narayan Rao took over the reins of the empire. However, his uncle Raghunath Rao, commonly known as Raghoba, harbored ambitions of his own. Raghoba, who had previously served as regent during Madhavrao's reign, found himself sidelined by the young Narayan Rao. This led to growing tensions between the two, exacerbated by Raghoba's wife Anandabai, who fueled the discord with her machinations. The rivalry reached a horrifying climax in 1773, when Raghoba allegedly conspired to have his nephew assassinated. The plot unfolded on a dark and fateful night, when a group of mercenaries, known as the Gardi Guards, were sent to the palace under the guise of arresting Narayan Rao. However, Anandabai reportedly altered the original order, changing the words from "arrest him" to "kill him." The result was a night of unspeakable horror. The guards, acting on their orders, stormed into Narayan Rao's chambers and brutally murdered the young Peshwa. As they attacked, Narayan Rao is said to have run through the palace screaming "Kaka, Mala Vakva! Uncle, save me!" in a desperate plea for help. His cries echoed through the corridors of Shaniwar, but they fell on deaf ears. The prince was mercilessly hacked to death, his body dismembered, and his remains were hastily disposed of in the nearby river. The murder of Narayan Rao had a profound impact on Shaniwar and the Peshwa dynasty. The palace, once a symbol of Maratha might, became a site of tragedy and bloodshed. The brutal killing left a dark stain on the palace's history, one that would never be fully erased. The ghost of Narayan Rao, it is believed, still haunts the palace, his anguished cries for help echoing through the walls on nights when the moon is full. Reports of hearing the prince's screams for help on full moon nights. Of all the ghostly tales associated with Shaniwar, the most chilling is undoubtedly the legend of Narayan Rao's screams. For centuries, locals and visitors alike have reported hearing the blood-curdling cries of the murdered prince on full moon nights. These spectral echoes are said to reverberate through the palace, filling the air with a sense of dread and despair. Eyewitnesses have described the experience as deeply unsettling, with some claiming that the cries seem to come from all directions, as if the very walls of the palace are haunted by the memory of that fateful night. The intensity of the screams reportedly varies, but they are always heart-wrenching, conveying the terror and pain that Narayan Rao must have felt in his final moments. Some paranormal investigators who have visited Shaniwar have attempted to record these ghostly sounds, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. While not all investigations have yielded clear results, the sheer number of accounts, spanning across generations, lends a certain credibility to the legend. Whether a psychological phenomenon or a genuine haunting, the screams of Narayan Rao have become an inseparable part of the palace's haunted reputation. The legend has become so ingrained in local culture that many Pune residents avoid the area around Shaniwar on full moon nights, unwilling to risk encountering the ghostly prince. For those who do visit, the experience is often described as eerie and unnerving, as if the weight of history and the echoes of the past are still very much alive within the palace walls. The fort's tragic history of political intrigue and betrayal. The murder of Narayan Rao Peshwa is just one chapter in the long and tragic history of Shaniwar, a history that is rife with political intrigue, betrayal and bloodshed. The palace, from its inception, was a center of power and politics, where alliances were forged and broken, and where the pursuit of power often led to treachery and violence. Shaniwar was built by Bajirao I, the first Peshwa of the Maratha Empire, and was intended to serve as the royal residence of the Peshwas. The fort became a symbol of Maratha strength and ambition, but it also became a stage for some of the most tumultuous events in the empire's history. The palace saw its fair share of internal strife, with various factions vying for control of the empire. The Peshwas, despite their outward unity, were often divided by personal ambitions and rivalries. The murder of Narayan Rao was a direct result of such infighting, but it was not the only act of betrayal to stain the walls of Shaniwar. In the years following Narayan Rao's death, the palace became a hotbed of conspiracy and conflict. The power struggles within the Peshwa family continued, with each successor facing challenges to their authority. The political instability weakened the Maratha Empire, leading to a gradual decline in its power and influence. By the early 19th century, the once mighty empire had been reduced to a shadow of its former self, with Shaniwar standing as a silent witness to its fall. The palace itself was not spared from physical destruction. In 1828, a massive fire broke out in Shaniwar, devastating much of the structure. The fire, which raged for 7 days, reduced large portions of the palace to ashes, leaving behind only the stone walls and the foundations. The cause of the fire remains unknown, adding yet another layer of mystery to the palace's tragic history. Eyewitness accounts of ghostly apparitions and eerie occurrences. Beyond the legend of Narayanrau's screams, Shaniwar is home to a myriad of ghostly tales and eerie occurrences. Visitors and caretakers of the palace have reported sightings of ghostly apparitions, strange lights, and unexplained phenomena that have only added to the fort's reputation as a haunted site. One of the most commonly reported apparitions is that of a shadowy figure, often seen wandering the grounds of the palace. This figure, believed by some to be the restless spirit of Narayanrao, is said to appear near the site where the young prince was murdered. Those who have encountered the apparition describe it as a dark, indistinct shape that moves silently through the corridors, disappearing as suddenly as it appears. In addition to visual sightings, there have been reports of unusual sounds emanating from the palace grounds. These sounds range from the faint clinking of anklets to the distant echoes of footsteps, often heard in the dead of night when the palace is deserted. Some visitors have even claimed to feel sudden drops in temperature or a cold breeze that seems to come from nowhere, despite the warm climate of Pune. The most unsettling of these accounts involve visitors who claim to have felt a presence following them as they explored the palace. This presence is often described as oppressive and malevolent, as if something unseen is watching and waiting in the shadows. Some have left the palace with an inexplicable sense of dread, convinced that they have encountered something otherworldly. The caretakers of Shaniwar, who have spent years within its walls, often speak of the palace with a mix of reverence and fear. While they have grown accustomed to the eerie atmosphere, many admit that they would never venture into certain parts of the palace after dark. For them, the ghosts of Shaniwar are not just stories, they are a reality that must be respected. Chapter 3: The Mysterious Disappearances at Jatinga. Nestled in the serene hills of Assam, the small village of Jatinga is a place of natural beauty, with its lush green landscapes and tranquil environment. Yet, this picturesque village is shrouded in an eerie mystery that has baffled scientists, intrigued researchers, and terrified locals for decades. Jatinga is infamous for a bizarre and unsettling phenomenon: the mass suicides of birds. Each year, during the monsoon season, hundreds of birds inexplicably plunge to their deaths in this tiny village, a phenomenon that has spawned terrifying superstitions and left a lasting impact on the local community. The strange behavior of birds mysteriously plunging to their deaths. The mystery of Jatinga centers around the strange behavior of birds that during certain nights of the year appear to lose all sense of direction and dive headlong into the ground, trees, and buildings, ultimately meeting their demise. This phenomenon occurs with unsettling regularity, usually during the months of September and October, when the monsoon rains still linger and the village is enveloped in mist and fog. What makes this phenomenon even more perplexing is that it occurs only in a specific area of the village, roughly a 1.5-kilometer stretch. The birds, many of which are migratory species, seem to be drawn to this area as if by some unseen force. They are not known to exhibit this behavior elsewhere, nor does it occur in any other village in the region. The affected species include a variety of birds, such as kingfishers, tiger bitterns, and pond herons, none of which are typically nocturnal. Yet they all seem to fall victim to this mysterious call of doom. During the night, usually between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m., the birds begin to act erratically. They fly towards the village lights, often crashing into buildings, trees, or the ground with lethal force. Some theories suggest that the birds are drawn to the lights because they become disoriented in the fog and mist, but this explanation does not fully account for why the phenomenon is so localized or why it affects only certain species. The villagers, who have witnessed this macabre spectacle for generations, have long believed that something more sinister is at play. Local legends and beliefs about spirits and dark forces. The people of Jatinga have not remained untouched by the eerie events that unfold in their village each year. Over time, they have developed their own explanations for the phenomenon, rooted in the spiritual and supernatural beliefs that are an integral part of their culture. One of the most pervasive local legends is that the birds are being lured to their deaths by evil spirits. According to this belief, these spirits, angered by some ancient wrong, haunt the skies over Jatinga and call the birds to their doom. The villagers believe that the spirits use the dense fog and darkness of the night to confuse the birds, leading them to their tragic fate. This explanation, while steeped in folklore, is taken seriously by many in the village, where superstition and tradition play significant roles in daily life. Another belief is that the birds are possessed by malevolent forces during their flight over Jatinga. These forces, it is said, drive the birds mad, causing them to act in ways that are completely out of character. The sudden and inexplicable deaths of these birds are seen as a bad omen, a sign that dark times are ahead for the village. The phenomenon is also sometimes viewed as a form of divine retribution, a punishment from the gods for unknown sins committed by the people of Jatinga or their ancestors. The sense of fear and awe surrounding the bird deaths is so strong that some villages refuse to leave their homes on the nights when the phenomenon is expected to occur. They believe that to venture out is to risk encountering the same dark forces that drive the birds to their deaths. The eerie atmosphere that descends upon the village during these nights only heightens the sense of dread, as the fog thickens and the cries of the birds fill the air. Scientific attempts to explain the phenomenon and the gaps in understanding. Despite the deep-rooted superstitions surrounding the bird deaths in Jatinga, the phenomenon has not escaped the attention of scientists and researchers. Over the years, various studies have been conducted to understand the causes behind this bizarre behavior. However, while some progress has been made, many questions remain unanswered. One of the earliest scientific explanations proposed that the birds become disoriented by the fog and high-altitude winds, leading them to fly towards the lights in the village. This disorientation, combined with the lack of visibility, causes the birds to crash into objects, resulting in their deaths. The lights in Jatinga, which are mostly from lanterns and torches, are believed to act as a beacon for the confused birds. Another theory suggests that the magnetic fields in the area might play a role. Some researchers have speculated that Jatinga's unique geographical location and topography could be influencing the Earth's magnetic field, causing migratory birds to lose their sense of direction. This theory, however, remains largely speculative, as conclusive evidence linking magnetic fields to the bird's behavior has yet to be found. A more recent hypothesis involves the idea of atmospheric pressure changes during the monsoon season. According to this theory, the birds might be experiencing a form of barotrauma, a condition where rapid changes in pressure cause disorientation and internal injuries. This could explain why the phenomenon occurs only during the monsoon months, when atmospheric conditions are highly variable. Despite these efforts, a definitive scientific explanation for the bird deaths in Jatinga remains elusive. The phenomenon's very specificity, affecting only certain species in a particular location at a specific time of year, continues to baffle researchers. While various factors such as weather, geography, and human influence have been considered, none of these explanations fully account for the sheer scale and regularity of the event. As a result, the bird deaths in Jatinga remain one of nature's unsolved mysteries, a phenomenon that straddles the line between the scientific and the supernatural. Personal stories from villagers who fear the yearly occurrence. For the villagers of Jatinga, the annual bird deaths are more than just a curious natural event. They are a source of deep fear and anxiety. The phenomenon has been a part of their lives for as long as they can remember, casting a long shadow over the community. One elder of the village recounts how, as a child, he would hear the cries of the birds in the dead of night, their screeches piercing through the thick fog. His family, like many others, would lock themselves indoors on these nights, lighting oil lamps and reciting prayers to ward off the evil spirits they believed were responsible for the deaths. Even now, in his old age, he admits that the nights when the birds fall are among the most unsettling of the year. Another villager, a woman in her 40s, recalls how her grandfather would tell stories of the birds being messengers from the spirit world. He believed that their deaths were a warning of impending disaster, a belief that has persisted in her family for generations. She speaks of the eerie silence that often precedes the event, as if the very air is holding its breath in anticipation of the tragedy to come. Some villagers have tried to turn the phenomenon into a form of tourism, hoping to attract curious visitors to witness the strange event. However, this has been met with mixed reactions. While some see it as an opportunity to bring much-needed income to the village, others view it as a violation of the sanctity of the event, fearing that it will only anger the spirits further. For many in Jatinga, the bird deaths are a reminder of the thin veil that separates the natural world from the supernatural, a veil that is breached each year when the birds fall from the sky. The phenomenon has shaped the identity of the village, instilling a sense of reverence and fear towards the natural world and its unexplained mysteries. Chapter 4: The Cursed Waters of Dumar Beach. Dumar Beach, located along the Arabian Sea in Gujarat, is unlike any other beach in India. Its distinctive black sands and unsettling atmosphere have earned it a notorious reputation as one of the most haunted places in the country. Beneath the surface of its striking beauty lies a dark history filled with death, mystery, and paranormal activities that have captured the imagination of locals and visitors alike. The beach's eerie charm is overshadowed by tales of cursed waters, ghostly presences and unexplained disappearances that continue to baffle those who dare to explore its shores. The beach's history as a Hindu burial ground, and its lingering spirits. The origins of Dumar Beach's haunted reputation can be traced back to its history as a Hindu burial ground. For centuries, this stretch of land was used for the cremation of the dead, with funeral pyres burning along the shorelines. The black sands, a peculiar feature of the beach, are said to be a direct result of the ash from countless cremations mixing with the natural sands, giving it an ominous appearance that sets it apart from the typical golden beaches of the region. According to Hindu beliefs, cremation is a sacred ritual that helps liberate the soul from the physical body, allowing it to move on to the afterlife. However, the spirits of those who have died unnaturally or have unfinished business are believed to linger in the places where their bodies were cremated. Dumar Beach, with its long history as a cremation ground, is said to be haunted by the restless souls of those who were laid to rest on its shores. Local legends tell of spirits wandering the beach at night, their presence marked by strange apparitions and disembodied voices. These spirits are believed to be drawn to the living, seeking help, or merely trying to communicate with those who dare to venture too close to their final resting place. The air around the beach is often described as heavy and oppressive, filled with a sense of unease that only grows stronger as night falls. The combination of its dark past and the inexplicable events that continue to occur have solidified Dumar Beach's status as a place where the boundary between the living and the dead is perilously thin. Mysterious disappearances of those who venture too far into the waters. Over the years, Dumar Beach has gained a sinister reputation, not just for its haunted history, but also for the mysterious disappearances that have occurred along its shores. Stories of people vanishing without a trace after wandering too far into the waters have fueled fears and speculations about the beach's cursed nature. Fishermen, who have worked these waters for generations, speak of strong, unpredictable currents that seem to pull people under without warning. However, many believe there is something more malevolent at play. Local folklore suggests that the spirits of those who died tragically are responsible for the disappearances, luring unsuspecting visitors into the water and dragging them to a watery grave. These spirits, restless and angry, are said to haunt the very waters where their lives were cut short, seeking to claim others in a twisted cycle of vengeance. One of the most chilling tales involves a group of young friends who visited the beach one evening. Ignoring the warnings of locals, they decided to take a swim despite the approaching nightfall. As they ventured further into the sea, they suddenly found themselves struggling against an unseen force. Panicked, they tried to swim back to shore, but one of them was pulled under the water, vanishing without a trace. His friends, unable to save him, watched in horror as he was seemingly swallowed by the dark waters. His body was never recovered, adding to the growing list of mysterious disappearances at Dumar Beach. These stories, whether true or embellished by fear, have become an integral part of the beach's lore. The disappearances remain unexplained, with no logical or scientific explanation that fully accounts for the number of people who have vanished over the years. The beach's reputation as a dangerous and cursed place is further reinforced by these tragic incidents, making it a place that many avoid after dark. Paranormal investigations, revealing ghostly presences and eerie voices. Dumar Beach has attracted the attention of paranormal investigators, both amateur and professional, eager to uncover the truth behind the beach's eerie reputation. These investigations have yielded unsettling results, with many reporting the presence of ghostly figures, unexplained sounds, and other phenomena that defy rational explanation. One of the most commonly reported experiences is the sound of whispers carried by the wind, especially as night falls. These voices, often unintelligible, seem to emanate from all directions, creating an unnerving feeling of being surrounded by unseen entities. Some have even reported hearing their names being called out in the darkness, only to find no one else around. These experiences have led many to believe that the spirits of those who were cremated on the beach are still present, attempting to communicate with the living. Apparitions are another frequent occurrence reported by visitors and investigators alike. These ghostly figures are often seen near the water's edge, wandering aimlessly or appearing to walk into the sea. Some describe them as being dressed in traditional attire, resembling those who would have lived centuries ago. These apparitions are usually fleeting, disappearing as quickly as they appear, leaving witnesses questioning their own senses. Paranormal researchers have used various tools and methods to try and capture evidence of these supernatural events. EMF detectors, which measure fluctuations in electromagnetic fields, often show spikes in activity near certain areas of the beach, particularly around the old cremation sites. Thermal cameras have also picked up anomalies, such as sudden drops in temperature or cold spots, which are commonly associated with the presence of spirits. Despite the evidence gathered, the paranormal activity at Dumar Beach remains a subject of debate. Skeptics argue that the phenomena could be attributed to natural causes, such as the play of light and shadow, the wind, or the psychological effects of being in a place known for its haunted history. However, those who have experienced the strange occurrences firsthand are convinced that there is something more at play, something that science has yet to explain. The local folklore warning against visiting the beach after sunset. The eerie happenings at Dumar Beach have given rise to a wealth of local folklore, much of which serves as a warning to those who might be tempted to visit the beach after sunset. For generations, villagers have passed down stories of the beach's cursed nature, cautioning against lingering too long near the water as night approaches. One of the most common warnings is to avoid the beach after dark, a time when the spirits are believed to be most active. The belief is that the darkness allows the spirits to move more freely, and that those who ignore this warning do so at their own peril. Many locals refuse to set foot on the beach after sunset, and even during the day they approach it with a sense of reverence and caution. Another piece of folklore involves the belief that the black sands of the beach are not just the result of ash from cremation pyres, but are also imbued with a dark energy. This energy is said to have seeped into the land from the countless souls who were cremated there, creating a cursed ground that draws in negative forces. This belief is so strong that some villagers refuse to take sand from the beach, fearing that bringing it home will also bring misfortune and bad luck. Despite these warnings, Dumar Beach continues to attract thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts, drawn by its reputation and the hope of experiencing something supernatural. For the locals, however, the beach is a place of both beauty and danger, where the line between the natural and the supernatural is blurred. They live with the knowledge that their home is a place where the dead do not rest easily, and where the waters themselves seem to hold a deadly secret. Chapter 5: The Spirits of Jodhpur's Kuldara Village. Rajasthan is a land of forts, palaces, and desert mysteries, but few places in this state are as enigmatic as the abandoned village of Kuldara. Located just 20 kilometers from the city of Jaisalmer, this village is a stark reminder of a time when Kuldara was home to the prosperous and hard-working Palawal Brahmins. Once a thriving community, The village now stands eerily silent and deserted, its crumbling walls and narrow lanes a testament to the secrets it holds. The mystery of Kuldara's sudden abandonment, coupled with chilling tales of curses and ghostly encounters, has led many to believe that the village is haunted by the spirits of its former inhabitants. The mass exodus of villagers overnight, leaving the village deserted. The story of Kuldara's abandonment is as haunting as the village itself. According to local legend, Kuldara was once home to a prosperous Brahmin community known for its wealth, wisdom, and agricultural skills. The village, along with several nearby settlements, thrived for centuries under the Palawal Brahmins, who were known for their advanced irrigation techniques that transformed the arid desert into fertile farmland. However, this prosperity came to an abrupt end one fateful night in the early 19th century. The ruler of Jaisalmer at the time, Salim Singh, was notorious for his cruelty and greed. His eye fell upon a beautiful young girl from Kuldara, the daughter of the village head. Infatuated with her, Salim Singh demanded her hand in marriage and threatened to impose heavy taxes on the villagers if they refused. The villagers, unwilling to give in to the ruler's demands, faced an impossible choice: sacrifice one of their own or endure relentless persecution. Rather than submitting to the cruel ruler, the people of Kuldara made a bold and fateful decision. One night, the entire population of the village, along with those from 83 neighboring villages, vanished into the darkness, leaving behind their homes, belongings, and livestock. The exodus was so swift and complete that by morning Kuldara was a ghost town. No one knows for certain where the villagers went or what happened to them, and their disappearance remains one of the great mysteries of Indian history. The curse placed by the villagers ensuring no one could ever settle there again. As the villagers fled, they left behind more than just empty homes, they also left behind a curse. According to legend, the departing villagers cursed Kuldara and the surrounding villages to ensure that no one would ever be able to settle there again. The curse decreed that anyone who tried to make the village their home would be met with misfortune, misery, and death. This curse has endured for over 2 centuries, as no one has successfully inhabited Kuldara since that fateful night. Several attempts to repopulate the village have ended in failure, with settlers reporting strange and frightening occurrences that drove them away. Crops would fail, livestock would perish, and those who tried to stay reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread and unease. Over time, the village's reputation as a cursed and haunted place grew, and it was left to decay, untouched by the passage of time. Even today, despite the village's proximity to Jaisalmer, a popular tourist destination, Kuldara remains abandoned. The government has declared it a heritage site, preserving its ruins for visitors to explore, but no one dares to live there. The curse, it seems, still holds power over the village, keeping it in a state of perpetual abandonment. Paranormal activities reported by visitors, including whispers, shadows, and cold spots. Kuldara's haunted reputation is not just based on its mysterious history and the curse left by its former inhabitants. Over the years, countless visitors have reported experiencing strange and unsettling phenomena while exploring the village's ruins. Paranormal investigators, thrill seekers, and curious tourists alike have all come away with eerie stories that suggest the village is still inhabited, albeit by spirits rather than the living. One of the most commonly reported paranormal experiences in Kuldara is the sound of whispers. Visitors often describe hearing faint, indistinct voices that seem to come from nowhere, as if the spirits of the villagers are still trying to communicate. These whispers are often accompanied by the feeling of being watched, with many people describing a sensation of unseen eyes following them as they walk through the village's empty streets. Shadows and apparitions are another frequent occurrence in Kuldara. Some visitors claim to have seen figures moving in the distance, only for them to disappear when approached. Others have reported seeing shadowy forms lurking in the corners of buildings, or darting out of sight just as they turn a corner. These shadowy figures are often described as being human in shape, but lacking any discernible features, adding to the village's eerie atmosphere. Cold spots are another common paranormal phenomenon in Caldara. Despite the village's location in the scorching Thar Desert, many visitors report sudden drops in temperature as they walk through certain areas of the village. These cold spots are often described as chilling, with some people even feeling as though they have walked into an invisible ice-cold wall. Paranormal investigators believe that cold spots are often associated with the presence of spirits, suggesting that the ghosts of Caldara's former residents may still be lingering in the village. One particularly chilling story involves a group of paranormal investigators who visited Caldara at night, hoping to capture evidence of the village's ghostly inhabitants. As they set up their equipment, they began to hear footsteps approaching them from the darkness. When they shone their flashlights in the direction of the sound, they saw nothing, but the footsteps continued, growing louder and closer. Terrified, the investigators packed up their gear and fled the village, convinced that they had encountered something supernatural. Theories about the village's mysterious abandonment and the fate of its people. The sudden abandonment of Caldara has puzzled historians and researchers for centuries, and several theories have been proposed to explain the village's mysterious exodus. While the legend of Salim Singh's unwanted advances and the village's subsequent flight remains the most popular explanation, there are other theories that suggest more practical reasons for Caldara's desertion. One theory is that the villagers left due to a severe drought that made it impossible to sustain their agricultural way of life. The Palawal Brahmins were known for their advanced irrigation techniques, but even they may have been unable to cope with the extreme conditions of the desert. As water sources dried up and crops failed, the villagers may have been forced to leave in search of more hospitable lands. Another theory suggests that the village was abandoned due to an outbreak of disease. The cramped living conditions and lack of proper sanitation could have made Caldara vulnerable to epidemics, and the sudden departure of the villagers may have been an attempt to escape the spread of illness. However, this theory does not explain the complete disappearance of the villagers, as one would expect to find traces of their migration or settlements elsewhere. A more recent theory suggests that the villagers may have been the victims of a planned mass relocation, orchestrated by the rulers of Jaisalmer for economic or political reasons. According to this theory, the villagers were forced to leave their homes and resettle elsewhere, possibly as part of a larger plan to consolidate power and resources in the region. This would explain the lack of any historical records or evidence of the villagers' fate, as their departure would have been carefully managed and kept out of official accounts. Despite these theories, the true reason for Caldara's abandonment remains a mystery. The fate of its people is unknown, and their disappearance continues to fuel speculation and intrigue. Whether driven by fear of a cruel ruler, environmental factors, disease, or political machinations, the villagers of Caldara left behind more questions than answers. Chapter 6: The Ghostly Apparitions of Savoy Hotel, Mussoorie. Nestled in the misty hills of Mussoorie, the Savoy Hotel stands as a grand relic of the British Raj, a place where history and luxury intertwine with chilling tales of the supernatural. The hotel, with its colonial architecture and breathtaking views, is a popular destination for tourists seeking a taste of old-world charm. However, behind its elegant facade lies a darker history, one that has earned the Savoy Hotel a reputation as one of India's most haunted locations. The eerie events that have taken place within its walls, particularly the mysterious death of Lady Garnet Orme, have left an indelible mark on the hotel's legacy, turning it into a hotspot for paranormal enthusiasts and curious travelers alike. The unsolved murder of Lady Garnet Orme and the eerie occurrences following her death. The haunting of the Savoy Hotel is closely tied to the tragic and unsolved murder of Lady Garnet Orme, a British spiritualist who was found dead under mysterious circumstances in 1911. Lady Garnet had come to Mussoorie seeking solace and rest, checking into the Savoy Hotel for what she believed would be a peaceful retreat. However, her stay ended in tragedy when she was discovered lifeless in her room, the victim of an apparent poisoning. The circumstances surrounding Lady Garnet's death were puzzling, and deeply unsettling. Her body was found lying peacefully on her bed, with no signs of struggle or violence. The cause of death was determined to be strychnine poisoning, a potent and painful toxin. What made the case even more baffling was that the poison had been administered in such a way that it left no immediate traces, suggesting that the murderer was someone with knowledge of poisons and their effects. Despite an extensive investigation, the identity of Lady Garnett's killer remained a mystery. The police questioned several suspects, including the hotel staff and Lady Garnett's close associates, but no definitive evidence could be found to implicate anyone. The case was eventually closed, but the shadow of Lady Garnett's unsolved murder continued to loom over the Savoy Hotel. Following her death, guests and staff began to report strange and inexplicable occurrences within the hotel. It was said that Lady Garnett's spirit had not found peace, and that she remained within the hotel, seeking justice for her untimely demise. The eerie happenings that followed only served to reinforce this belief, as the hotel's atmosphere grew increasingly unsettling. Reports of ghostly figures, unexplained noises, and flickering lights. The ghostly presence of Lady Garnett Orme is perhaps the most famous of the paranormal phenomena reported at the Savoy Hotel, but it is by no means the only one. Over the years, countless guests and staff members have shared stories of eerie encounters that defy explanation, turning the hotel into a beacon for those fascinated by the supernatural. One of the most commonly reported phenomena is the appearance of ghostly figures within the hotel's corridors and rooms. Guests have described seeing a woman dressed in old-fashioned clothing, believed to be Lady Garnett, wandering the halls at night. She is often seen walking silently through the hotel, her face pale and expressionless before vanishing into thin air. Some have even claimed to have seen her standing at the foot of their beds, watching them as they slept, only to disappear when they wake. In addition to these spectral sightings, the hotel is also known for its unexplained noises. Guests have reported hearing footsteps in empty corridors, doors creaking open and shut on their own, and the faint sound of a woman's voice whispering in the darkness. These sounds often occur late at night, adding to the sense of unease that pervades the hotel. Staff members have also recounted hearing strange noises while working in the hotel, such as the sound of furniture being moved in unoccupied rooms or the distant echoes of laughter that seem to come from nowhere. Flickering lights are another common occurrence at the Savoy Hotel. Guests often report that the lights in their rooms will dim or flicker without warning, even when there is no apparent electrical issue. Some have even experienced complete blackouts, only for the lights to come back on a few moments later, revealing an eerie stillness in the room. These electrical disturbances are often accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature, leading many to believe that they are caused by the presence of spirits. The combination of these paranormal activities, ghostly apparitions, unexplained noises, and flickering lights, has created an atmosphere of fear and fascination at the Savoy Hotel. For some, these experiences are thrilling, offering a chance to encounter the supernatural. For others, they are deeply unsettling, leaving them eager to check out as quickly as possible. The hotel's reputation as one of India's most haunted locations. Over time, the stories of ghostly encounters at the Savoy Hotel have solidified its reputation as one of India's most haunted locations. The hotel's dark history, combined with the numerous reports of paranormal activity, has made it a focal point for those interested in the supernatural. It is not uncommon for the hotel to receive guests who are specifically drawn to its haunted reputation, hoping to experience the eerie phenomena for themselves. This reputation has been further cemented by the numerous articles, books, and television programs that have featured the Savoy Hotel's ghostly tales. Paranormal investigators have visited the hotel in search of evidence, and their findings have only added to the mystery. Some have captured inexplicable anomalies on camera, such as orbs of light or shadowy figures, while others have recorded strange sounds and voices during their investigations. These findings have only served to fuel the hotel's haunted legacy, attracting even more attention from the curious and the brave. The Savoy Hotel's haunted reputation is not just a result of its ghostly occurrences, it is also deeply intertwined with the hotel's ambience and history. The building itself, with its grand yet slightly worn appearance, exudes a sense of old-world mystery. The creaking floors, dimly lit corridors, and antique furnishings all contribute to an atmosphere that feels steeped in the past, a past that seems to linger in the air, refusing to fade away. This unique combination of history and hauntings has made the Savoy Hotel a place where the line between the living and the dead feels unusually thin. First-hand accounts from guests and staff who have experienced the unexplainable. The true essence of the Savoy Hotel's haunted history lies in the first-hand accounts of those who have experienced its eerie phenomena. These stories, told by both guests and staff, provide a glimpse into the strange and unsettling world that exists within the hotel's walls. One former guest, a writer seeking inspiration for her next novel, recounted an experience that left her shaken. She described waking in the middle of the night to the sound of soft crying coming from the corner of her room. When she turned on the light, she saw a woman in a long, flowing dress standing by the window, her face hidden in her hands. The woman's sobs filled the room, and the writer felt a deep sense of sorrow wash over her. She watched in stunned silence as the figure slowly faded away, leaving behind only an empty room and a lingering sadness. Another guest, a businessman on a work trip, shared a story of an encounter that was both terrifying and inexplicable. He had checked into his room late at night and was preparing for bed when he noticed the lights flickering. Suddenly, the room was plunged into darkness, and he felt a cold breeze brush past him. In the pitch black, he heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching his bed. Paralyzed with fear, he waited for what felt like an eternity until the lights flickered back on, revealing an empty room. The businessman left the hotel the next morning, vowing never to return. Even the staff at the Savoy Hotel have their own stories to tell. A housekeeper, who had worked at the hotel for many years, recounted how she would often hear voices coming from empty rooms as she cleaned. Despite her long tenure, she admitted that the hotel's haunted reputation still gave her chills, especially when working alone late at night. Another staff member, a night security guard, shared his experience of seeing a figure standing at the end of a hallway, only for it to vanish when he approached. He confessed that he had learned to live with the hotel's ghosts, accepting them as part of the job. Chapter 7: The Unsolved Mystery of the Lambie Dahar Mines. Perched on the misty slopes of Missouri, the Lambie Dahar Mines stand as a chilling testament to a tragic past. Once a bustling site of economic activity, the mines are now shrouded in silence, their tunnels abandoned and their history steeped in eerie tales of death and despair. The Lambie Dahar Mines, often referred to as one of the most haunted places in India, are infamous for the mass deaths of thousands of miners, many of whom are believed to have met their end under mysterious and horrifying circumstances. The legacy of this tragedy, coupled with countless reports of paranormal activity, has transformed the mines into a place of fear and intrigue. The horrifying conditions and the tragic deaths of workers due to silicosis. The story of the Lambie Dahar Mines begins in the 19th century, when the British colonial government established the mines as a major source of limestone extraction. Thousands of laborers, mostly local villagers, were employed to work in the mines, drawn by the promise of steady wages. However, the conditions within the mines were far from humane. The miners toiled in harsh, cramped environments, breathing in fine dust particles that filled the air, slowly poisoning their lungs. Silicosis, a deadly lung disease caused by inhaling silica dust, became a silent killer among the workers. The disease, which causes severe respiratory issues and eventually leads to death, was poorly understood at the time, and the miners received little to no medical attention. As the years went by, the death toll rose steadily, with many of the miners succumbing to the disease in agonizing conditions. Their bodies were often buried hastily, and their families were left to fend for themselves, receiving no compensation or support. The death of the miners cast a dark shadow over the Lambie Dahar Mines. As more and more workers perished, the mines began to develop a reputation as a cursed place. The air, thick with dust and despair, seemed to carry the souls of the departed, their suffering etched into the very walls of the tunnels. The conditions were so dire that eventually, the mines were shut down, leaving behind a legacy of death and misery that would haunt the area for generations to come. Reports of strange sounds, ghostly apparitions, and a sinister presence in the area. With the closure of the mines, the once thriving site was left to decay. Nature slowly reclaimed the area, and the mines, now abandoned, became a ghostly reminder of the past. However, the haunting of the Lambi Dahar mines did not end with the cessation of mining activities. In fact, it only seemed to intensify. Visitors to the site have reported hearing strange and unsettling sounds emanating from the abandoned tunnels. The wind, which whistles through the mine shafts, often carries with it the echoes of what many believe to be the cries and moans of the long-dead miners. These sounds, described as both mournful and terrifying, seem to come from deep within the earth, as if the spirits of the miners are still trapped in the very place where they met their tragic end. In addition to these auditory phenomena, there have been numerous reports of ghostly apparitions in and around the mines. These spectral figures, often seen at dusk or in the dead of night, are said to resemble the miners who once worked there. Dressed in tattered clothes, their faces gaunt and hollow, these apparitions have been known to wander the area aimlessly, disappearing into the mist as suddenly as they appear. Some witnesses have even claimed to have seen these figures deep within the mine shafts, their lanterns flickering in the darkness before being extinguished, leaving the tunnels pitch black once more. The presence of these apparitions has created an atmosphere of fear and unease among those who venture near the mines. Many who have visited the site describe a feeling of being watched, as if an unseen entity is lurking in the shadows, observing their every move. This sinister presence, which has been felt by numerous individuals, adds to the sense of dread that permeates the area, reinforcing the belief that the mines are indeed haunted by the restless spirits of the dead. The local belief in the mine being cursed and haunted by restless spirits. The belief that the Lambi Dahar mines are cursed and haunted by the spirits of the miners who died there is deeply ingrained in the local culture. The villagers who live in the surrounding areas speak of the mines with a mix of fear and reverence, avoiding the site after dark and warning outsiders of the dangers that lurk within. According to local legend, the curse of the mines began when the first miners were buried in unmarked graves, their souls unable to find peace due to the lack of proper burial rites. It is said that the spirits of these miners have remained trapped in the mines, their anguish and suffering manifesting as the strange phenomena that have been reported over the years. The curse is believed to be so powerful that anyone who disturbs the mines risks invoking the wrath of these restless spirits. In addition to the stories of haunted apparitions and eerie sounds, there are also tales of mysterious disappearances associated with the Lambi Dahar mines. Over the years there have been reports of people, curious explorers, tourists and even locals, who have ventured into the mines never to be seen again. These disappearances are often attributed to the curse of the mines, with some believing that the spirits have claimed these individuals as their own, dragging them into the depths of the earth. This belief in the curse has only grown stronger over time, with many locals refusing to set foot near the mines, especially at night. The fear of the unknown, combined with the tragic history of the site, has created an aura of mystery and terror that continues to shroud the Lambi Dahar mines. Modern-day accounts of paranormal activity and the fear surrounding the site. In recent years, the Lambi Dahar mines have attracted the attention of paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers, all eager to uncover the truth behind the legends. These modern-day explorers have conducted investigations at the site, using a variety of equipment to detect any signs of paranormal activity. Their findings have been both fascinating and disturbing. Many investigators have reported experiencing unusual phenomena, such as sudden drops in temperature, unexplained electromagnetic readings, and the feeling of being touched or pushed by unseen forces. Some have captured eerie images on camera, including orbs of light and shadowy figures, while others have recorded strange voices and sounds on audio devices. These findings have only served to validate the long-standing belief that the Lambi Dahar mines are haunted, further fueling the fear and fascination surrounding the site. Despite the risks, the mines continue to draw visitors, both local and international, who are intrigued by the stories of hauntings and curses. However, the site's reputation as a place of death and despair has also led to a deep sense of fear among those who live nearby. The villagers, many of whom lost family members to the mines, view the site as a place of tragedy and loss, and they remain wary of the dangers that it might still hold. The fear surrounding the Lambi Dahar mines is not just a product of superstition, it is a reflection of the very real suffering that took place there. The memories of the miners who died in agony, the whispers of their restless spirits, and the unexplained phenomena that continue to plague the site all contribute to the sense of dread that hangs over the area. The Lambi Dahar mines, with their tragic history and eerie present, stand as a haunting reminder of the past, a place where the lines between the living and the dead are blurred, and where the echoes of the past still resonate in the present.